All they did is take and take and take and never ever help anybody. And two of the biggest pieces of shit in wrestling.
I gotta ask is this now. Is there somebody at the point that you haven't faced? Now I know we keep saying before like a current modern day wrestling, but actually somebody from your era that you never faced that you regret you never had a chance to.
Kurt Angle.
Chris Jericho.
Yeah, Kurt Angle would be one. I mean, there's a lot of guys. Kurt Angle would be one of the first ones that comes to mind. Lance Storm.
Jericho.
I'd like to wrestle Lance Storm.
Jericho.
I'd like to wrestle. No, let's leave Dean Malenko at home.
Chris Benoit.
Rey Mysterio is one of your favorites as well.
Rey Mysterio, there's one. I would love to wrestle Rey Mysterio. You know, the truth is I was a guy I loved as a kid. My passion in wrestling started from, I loved masked wrestlers. They were my favorite. I loved anyone with a mask. And Mil Mascaras was one of my favorites as a kid. And unfortunately, he was a really horrible wrestler and a horrible human being. But, you know, didn't stop me from liking masked wrestlers. And when I met Rey Mysterio, I still say this. Rey Mysterio is one of the greatest wrestlers, maybe the greatest wrestler of all time. There's nobody can lace Rey Mysterio's shoes off. You know? He was such a great wrestler and a great athlete and he was just so good and such a smart wrestler and so amazing. I mean, I would love to have gone in my mind, like when I would have to think a little, I'd have to be a little younger than I am now. But, you know, like when I was in my early 20s maybe late 20s, I would love to have wrestled Rey Mysterio, like when I was young and could do all that kind of stuff. I don't know if like by the time I was in WCW, it might have been hard for me to do the kind of match I would love to do with Rey Mysterio. But I never wrestled the Lucha Libre style, other than with Owen and Tiger Mask and I did I could wrestle those guys a little bit, but I would love to have really gone overboard with Rey Mysterio and try to really just have a match that I've never had before. Like that's with all kinds of fancy moves and stuff that the guys like Rey and the Mexican wrestlers do. I would just love to have had one of those in my portfolio where it's like, oh, well, yeah, want to watch a high-flying match? Here, watch me and Rey Mysterio back in 1995. Like, I would love to have had that, but we never got to do it. I used to beg guys like Eric Bischoff, like, please put me with Rey Mysterio or somebody. Put me with anybody. And they would never put me with anybody that made any sense. But
Haters nowadays, I guess.
Go back to guys that I would like to work with. I would love to have wrestled Dwayne Johnson a lot more times. I wrestled once. I would love to have. John Cena would be up. Can you imagine John Cena
Hell no.
with the U.S.-Canada thing that I had going?
Wow.
Boy, it would have been.
John Cena.
Like, hypothetically, I just say the screw job never happened, and nothing and I was still in WWF. That would have happened. I would have worked with John Cena, and we would have done amazing stuff. And I've always been really impressed by John Cena. I'll just say this, like when I was back there in 2010, when I wrestled Vince and all that stuff, I found John Cena he was very comparable or similar to me in the sense that he was a serious professional. That he was a detail guy that went over every little detail in the match. And I remember watching him go over the match with different wrestlers. And sort of just being around him, I remember kind of going, that's what I used to do. I was always that guy to go over it, okay, like, let's go over it one more time. And everyone's like, no, we got it. And I'm like, let's go over it one more time. And then we go over it one more time and you'd find out that somebody didn't know what they were doing. And that's like, that's why you gotta go over it one more time all the time. And, being a detail guy. And John was always, I found John Cena to be just such a professional, that I would love to have worked with him. Who?
The Undertaker.
MJF, who was that?
Sting.
That was the best
AEW.
response you could get right there.
I'm just curious now, who is it?
It's AEW wrestling.
CM Skunk.
Maxwell Frieda. What's his name?
As you
Maxwell.
can tell, I don't watch a lot anymore.
The Undertaker.
Eddie.
Hangman Page.
AJ Styles would be another guy I would love to.
Oh yeah.
Ryan Danielson.
Almost.
We could go on all night.
Daniel.
It's like 7 o'clock. We're still going.
There's a lot of guys I wished I could have worked with, but
Hell no.
yeah, I would like to wrestle Brock Lesnar. I've always understood that Brock Lesnar, like I heard that he wished that he had wrestled me one time. And I've always heard from different guys that Brock Lesnar's like a professional. Like, he's really good. He's not like Goldberg. I'm just saying, he knows what the wrestling is all about, and he does it right. And some guys like Goldberg never understood it ever.
I love it. Now we know that you just mentioned John Cena, his retirement tour and stuff. Now there's a lot of debate. Do you believe that he's a modern day GOAT?
No.
Yes.
Hell no.
Yes.
I would think so.
No.
I mean,
Definitely not.
I mean, he's been around long enough to be a GOAT. And he's been around a long time, and he's been a great wrestler for a long time. So I think he's up there, for sure.
Now CM Punk recently called you the Wayne Gretzky of wrestling. Now, you know he pays a lot of homage to you. He always praises you. He even wears the pink and the black, all that, etc. What is your take on that when you hear somebody from CM Punk call you the Wayne Gretzky of wrestling?
Well, he's got a good eye, I guess. I don't know. I honestly don't know that you could ever say anybody's the greatest wrestler or the greatest rock band, or it's all interpretation. So it's like, but I think, I love the way, like I'll be honest, I have a hard time watching today's wrestling. I just can't really watch it. Like, it's too fake for me. I love watching the old '90s wrestling. I really do. Like when I watch my matches back, or just in almost any match, even obscure Stampede wrestling matches. There's something about the realism, the punches and the kicks, and even just the way the presentation is. It just seems to me to be more onus put on the workmanship of learning the craft of being wrestlers. I think that today's wrestlers are actors. Most of them are actors pretending to be wrestlers. And, they don't actually know how to wrestle. They don't even know what a headlock is.
True.
Everything is a high spot. Everything is high spots. Like, I want to get my move in. It's like, I don't know, I always thought wrestling needed to actually pretend to be wrestling. And I miss the wrestling aspect and the psychology of the 60s and 70s wrestling, like the presentation of trying to, pretending that it's a real sport and a real, if you watch Ricky Steamboat, that's what I like about Ricky Steamboat as an example. He was always a guy that he walked always one in his eyes and his expression and the way he wrestled. It was like a contest, and he made wrestling to seem real. And there's so many different wrestlers that always made it seem real, but I always tried to be real. Like I always try to keep it real and like take somebody down. I can remember sometimes taking somebody over in a headlock, and in amateur wrestling, when you take someone over in a headlock, you often grab the arm and you take them over with the arm and the head. And I can remember sometimes in pro wrestling taking over some some guy that's about 300 pounds, like whipping him over, throwing him on his back from a headlock. And I took him over by the arm, and everyone's like, "You're shooting with me out there." And I was like, "No, I wasn't shooting on it. It's just a wrestling move, like a real move, you know." But it's like, you know, some people, they don't understand the, you know, wrestling today is, I mean, I see guys throwing punches and they open their hand at the last second and slap the guy and then close it by the time they pull back. Who's that Irish guy, Sheamus? Does those all the time. And whenever I see him, I'm like, why don't you take 10 minutes and go down and have someone teach you how to throw a punch? It's an embarrassment to have a punch.
Woo!
When you watch WrestleMania 7 with the Nasty Boys, when the Hart Foundation and the Nasty Boys wrestled, and I'm on the second rope, and I think I got sags or knobs, I can't remember which one. You want to watch punches. Watch the punches that I pound on Sags' head. I remember hitting him over and over on the head. And whenever I watch it back, I go, look at those punches. I always like, look at these punches, look at these punches. And I can tell you, not one of those punches hurt anyone. But if you watch it, it looks like I'm just killing them out there. And I go, that's what I do. That's what I did. I made it real without hurting anybody. I think when you watch my matches back, you might go, oh, I bet Bret Hart was no fun to wrestle. You know, a lot of hard falls and stuff happened to you. But the truth is, I always looked like I was hurting my opponent, and that I'd be very physical. Like I can remember Sid, Psycho Sid. I think he actually got pretty nervous wrestling me the very first time he wrestled me somewhere, because he'd been watching me and he thought I was like a real brawler out there that would just, you know, fight for real and stuff. And then I remember hitting him on the back, like really beating on him. And he didn't even know how to sell it. He was so, because nothing hurt. Like I remember hitting him across the back and just laying my forearms and just whacking him as hard as I could. And then he realized after about 20 seconds that none of it hurt. He was like, oh, he's really hurting me. Like, oh, like I'm gonna have to kill this Bret Hart. He's going out of his mind. And then it's like next thing he was more like, I can't believe none of those hurt. Like, and then he realized, come back after the match. It was like, and then every match I ever had with him was easier after that, because he realized that I look, and I was pretty stiff. I was a very solid wrestler. It was when you wrestle me, you didn't have a night off. Like when I body slam you, you're gonna get body slammed. You know, but the punches, my punches they were notoriously referred to as rubber hammers, and Undertaker used to call them rubber hammers all the time, and because it was the same thing. They always thought, oh, it looks like he's beating these guys, punching them like bone to bone, and if your fist is punching some guy in the head, it'll hurt. Hurt you and the guy that you're hitting. Most people that have ever had a fight know that if you punch in bones, it hurts. And but if you watch my punches, most of the time, depending on the camera angles, they look real, and they never were. And I don't know, I don't want to explain it, but I always had big hands. My hands were much bigger before when I was wrestling, and big meaty hand paws. And so when I clenched my fist, this part down here on the lower half of my hand was kind of like a big thick piece of meat. So I could just punch guys, and I would turn my hand at the last second and hit them with and I would always aim for their head and hit their head with my fist, but it was always the rubber hammer, and they hurt, like a little bit. I remember coming back to the dressing room, like, you hit me with those punches, like I could feel them, and I'm like, yeah, but there's no marks. There's nothing, there's no damage, there's nothing, like they might have hurt in the ring a little bit. More like a surprise, like, did you really hit me in the head? Like, because in wrestling, that's not cool to hit somebody. But I think people learned after a while, like with me, that everything I did was believable. And I was the most focused on believability, I think, maybe. And maybe, I don't know if any wrestlers I could say that were better than me at making it appear to be more real. Like even my turnbuckles. I always wanted to convince the audience that maybe this match was real, or maybe my match was real. And I think I achieved that.
Woo!
Now, Brett, I gotta say, it's a little humor. I've been dying to do this the whole time. It's getting hot in here. Since I gotta say this, I'm not stripping. Now, I gotta say, we see you in Maple Leaf jersey all the time. We've seen you in the Flames jersey. Why not never Montreal Canadiens jersey?
Because they suck. They
I'm
suck.
dying hot here. Are you a fan of the Habs?
No.
I was at certain times, but I loved the Habs. I love hockey.
Yeah.
But I found that they just won all the time. They would win every year. Like my whole childhood was Montreal won everything all the time.
Not a problem anymore.
Now they lose.
Not a problem lately, anyway.
They suck.
But, that'll change. I'm more of a fan now. I'm a fan of all the Canadians.
Oilers should have won.
I want to see the cup come back to Canada.
Yeah. Oilers.
Who's winning the Stanley Cup this year?
Montreal.
Yeah!
I know it's not Calgary, so.
Now, Lou, I gotta ask you now. I was give it up for the Toronto Blue Jays, right, guys? Blue Jays, Canada's team, right?
Boo!
How about that run with the Blue Jays? 2 outs away, heartbreak, but
It's like the Iron Man match. It's a big heartbreak at the end, but still a great match. I don't think when you have I think I said this before the game. Is it really doesn't matter who wins in a seventh game. Like it's as long as it's close, and it was close, went right to the 11th inning or whatever.
yeah, exactly. Extra innings, heartbreak.
It's like you can't ask for a better story. Like that is the Iron Man match. Really, it's the same thing. It was just a beautiful series. I think when I got to Game 7, it's like I don't care who wins. I just want a good game, and I got that. I'm really happy that it was just such a good, close series, and I don't think if you'd asked me last fall when the season was starting or whatever, I wouldn't have thought Toronto was going to go on to the World Series. Period. So it was a kind of a treat, just a surprise.
Exactly.
But I think they're going to be back next year, and we'll see what they do.
Blue Jays, that's it. Right now, Brett, it's not done yet. This is like, let's say, the final chapter. Now, we all know what we're here for today. It's the anniversary of the screw job.
Please.
Yes, right? I gotta say now, 28 years later, how do you personally reflect on that screw job today?
Exactly.
Yeah, I really look at it and I go, I'm really proud of myself. I think when I look back on it more and more, and I'm really proud of every single thing I did. Really for probably a year, they were just fucking with me, just tearing me down and trying to, when I think about that time, it's like, Vince was such a slime ball. Such a crook, he really was. He was tell you one thing and do another and tell you another thing. I just, I kept my integrity. I was honest in every conversation I ever had with Vince. I always spoke the truth to him, told him what I didn't like or what was going on or this happened I think it's fair to say now, I don't want to get into a big, pulling a big scab off. But of course, we're here to talk about the screw job. So I really think, and I'm trying not to be so much controversial, but I think I didn't realize, or actually I did realize a long time ago. I thought about it back in 1997 when it was all happening. I remember going when Sean, if you remember, forfeited the belt on Monday Night Raw and retired to go find his smile somewhere. And, really, like that, when all that happened, I remember in the dressing room when Vince told everybody that Sean was going to forfeit the belt because he had, so what was his knee or something? I can't remember what, I think it was his knee. And then Sean, I remember when Sean, he was crying in the ring. Sean was crying in the ring, and the tears were in his eyes and all that. And I just remember Vince, I was watching on the monitor in the back area with Vince. And me and Undertaker looked at each other, and he rolled his eyes that this whole thing was a bunch of bullshit and that there was nothing wrong with Sean, especially when you saw Sean. Sean, if you remember, he went to the corner and did a standing backflip after he forfeited the belt because of his knee injury. And I'm watching this, and he does a standing backflip somersault off the top and lands right in the middle of the ring. And I'm going, you can't do that with a bad knee.
This was
It's
a
all
shit.
bullshit.
Yeah.
And I didn't remember Undertaker looked at me and he pulled his eyelid down like this, like. And the thing is that Sean came back, and I remember Vince crying, like when Sean was in the ring talking about, you know, he lost some part of himself, or he was gonna go find his smile. I remember Vince had the tear roll down his cheek, and I remember watching it and going, I think there's more going on here between these two guys. Honestly, and I'm not trying to be, I'm just being honest and blunt. I don't know, I suspected, and now I really have serious, I think that Sean and Vince were sleeping with each other.
Woo! Yeah. HB gay.
I honestly, I'm just telling you, I think I'm very close to the truth here. Because Sean and Vince were lovers, and that's
HB
why
gay.
I'm being dead honest. And
Oh, yeah?
I'm telling you,
HB gay.
I just, when I look back, it's like, I got caught between two lovers. And I got shafted and screwed over, and Sean was so envious and jealous of my position that he finally had to sleep with Vince to get it. And,
Boy toy.
I tell you, I say all this with absolute, I would say it to Sean if he was right here. I would actually like to have Sean come clean and say, look, we were lovers. I'm sure they were.
Woo! HB gay.
100%.
Boy toy.
If I saw either Vince or Sean here, I would say I think you guys were lovers.
Now, do you think it changed the wrestling business after you left for better or worse?
Well, clearly it's not better. No, I don't know. I can't answer that. It's hard for me because wrestling's like booming right now, so popular. It's probably as popular maybe as it's ever been. And I'm like, I have a hard time watching it. Like, I miss the realism. Like I don't know. Maybe that's why UFC is becoming more popular. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
like I liked my wrestling because I think all wrestling you have to be a great wrestler. You have to be a great wrestling fan first. Which is why maybe if I was any good as a wrestler, if you guys really appreciated my wrestling, is because I grew up watching wrestling and watched so many different wrestlers from so many different parts of the world. French wrestlers, Canadian wrestlers, Japanese wrestlers, Mexican wrestlers. They all washed up in Calgary sooner or later, and there was all these different styles and English wrestling. And, I got a really good education on wrestling, and I think I really understood. Most of the time when I was talking with even like Steve Austin or somebody, it's like, I was always like, I would always put myself in the audience, if you can imagine this, but I would visualize the match from the front row and how a fan would perceive it, or what a fan would think, and I was always able to do that to project what would capture a fan's interest and like what would be a great finish or what a great ending would be if you did this. And I was always really good at putting really good little ideas together and then tuck them in my back pocket and keep them for like years and years and years. And then all of a sudden it's like, you go into Wembley to wrestle Davy Boy and it's like, I got an ending that nobody's ever seen that will blow the roof off them, even though they didn't have a roof. But I just, you just know. It's like, I know what the fans will love. And because I was a fan, like a real fan, like a real diehard fan that waited to, for every Friday for the show and sold all my programs so I could watch the first match and would watch. I loved wrestling. It was a real fan. So I think that's why I was as good as I was, because I really wanted to deliver the great matches that I got delivered to me.
I gotta ask you this now. What did you learn about, let's say, trust and business after that whole little shindig?
The whole little shindig being Vince.
Let's put that, yes.
Well, I learned that integrity is everything, and I think it was right from day one, like even the day after I knocked Vince out. When I got
Woo!
home,
Yeah.
I can remember looking myself in the mirror and kind of like, did I fuck up or did I just, what the fuck did I do to bring this all on? And it's like, I worked my ass off for this guy for 14, 15 years. Gave him everything from front turnbuckles to, every body slam, every turnbuckle. I gave him so much. I never missed a show. I wrestled, I think, 14 or 15 straight years for WWF, and I think I missed one show in 15 years. And it's like, I gave so much and worked so hard and tried so hard. And when I look at how, in the end, how Vince treated me and how the screw job, and I had overwhelming odds. The things that they were trying to do, like even the week of the screw job, they're all planning and plotting this out, how to fuck me over in the ring, and fuck me over in Canada in front of all my home fans. And I'll be honest, Montreal was always really good to me as a city. First time I wrestled in Montreal, I had been in the WWF about a month. I can't remember. Eventually we came to Montreal, and I remember like Bret Hart, Calgary, like kind of walking out. And I got a pretty good response. Like I remember they actually welcomed me. And I remember then having a match. I remember who I wrestled, but I had an okay match. And I remember I got cheered. And I just remember the next time I came back, when I walked out, I got a good pop. And it was like, geez, it's only my second time here. I got a good pop. And I always thought, because I had a good match last time. And the people in Montreal were all like real fans. Montreal had some of the greatest wrestling fans in the world, just like Madison Square Garden or Boston Garden. That's where wrestling was invented, and that's where all these cities were where wrestling was formed. And so that's where it all started. And they understood they understood wrestling, Montreal fans. And I always felt Montreal was a place where, if you wrestle really hard, they appreciate it and let you know that they like your style. And so the next time I came back, and the next time, and I always had a good following with the fans here. And same with Madison Square Garden would be the exact same thing. They always liked me in New York because I worked hard and gave them a good match. And so I think, what was the question?
What else should I say about the trust and business, like if all that?
Well, going back to Vince and all that, I mean, I just, when I looked in the mirror that day after it happened, I was always like, why did this happen to me? Like I gave this guy everything I could give him. It's not like, it's not like I was looking forward to knocking Vince McMahon out, or looking forward to a confrontation with Shawn. I didn't care. I did care. No, I shouldn't say I didn't care, but I'm an old school guy, and wrestling business is something that's in my blood, in my family, And I know how wrestling works. I grew up in a wrestling family, and like Vince McMahon's got no more say about wrestling than I do. Like my family's every bit as involved in it as his family was. And so I know there is honor in wrestling, and there's a trust between two wrestlers. When you agree to wrestle somebody and you go in the ring and you're basically giving him your body, and he's going to give you his. You have to have trust. Of all the things in wrestling, there's no more important thing than trust. You got to trust the guy. Like if somebody body slams you, climbs over to the top turnbuckle and starts to climb up, and he's standing on the top turnbuckle and you're lying in the middle of the ring with you like this. That's trust. You have to trust that he's going to jump all the way off that turnbuckle with a knee drop or an elbow drop or a headbutt or whatever he's going to do, and that he is not going to hurt you. And that takes a lot of, you have to lie there, and that's where the onus is on the guy that's climbing up. He's got somebody that's got 3 kids at home and a wife that they're waiting for him to come home, and you can't jump off and break his neck or be careless or reckless. You can't jump off and do the Goldberg to him. You just can't. It's like, it's all about that trust. And when you jump off and deliver a perfect knee drop on some guy's chest, and then he rolls over and he's selling it like crazy, he's actually going, this guy's fucking great. This guy, I never heard it all. And that's what wrestling's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be, you're not supposed to hurt guys. And it's all about trust and respect. And, when I was champion, I didn't ask them to make me champion or pressure them to make me champion or anything like that. I ended up as champion from Undertaker, that SummerSlam. But I think they put the belt on me for the sole reason that Vince wanted to screw me over and push me out the back door like nothing, like just sort of kick me out, and not just let me go, but to tear me down so that I lost all my value before I left the company. And so I had in my contract, I had creative control for my last 60 days to prevent them from doing that. So, I had every right legally to protect myself from whatever they might do to me, storyline-wise. So when I found out that it was me and Sean wrestling at Survivor Series, Sean had been refereed the match at SummerSlam, and we were not quite talking to each other yet. Kind of like, I didn't know if there was still issues between us or not. You always hope that you can move forward and start over again. We're the first 2 guys in the wrestling business to have differences or